I suppose most of you are familiar with this old optical illusion. And you're asked the question, which of the thick black lines is the longer? And I suppose one's natural reaction is to say the one on the left. And I think you know that this is a result of the perspective, an illusion with which we are so used to it. Why would once we've accustomed ourselves to it? We might, if that picture were drawn more vividly, even if fashion stretching away from you over the end. Of course, if you came up against that kind of thing, painted against the wall, you might make the mistake of walking into it and banging your nose. But this is an example of what that word from Indian philosophy, which generally has the meaning of illusion, or rather, illusion is brought about by the acceptance of certain conventions of which perspective is designed. When we are not aware that certain things, like the separateness of it, when we are not aware that this is an aspect now, I think one of the conventions by which we tend to be fooled is time. And for all human beings, time is a matter of extraordinary importance. And perhaps this is one of the principal ways in which we differ from animals. Because man has been called a time-binding animal. That is to say, a creature who is vividly aware of the fact that his life moves, as it were, along the line from the past to the present. They don't appear to have very strong memories. Because has a strong past and forward, the visions of the future, based upon what has happened in the past. And therefore, although this facility gives man an extraordinary ability to plan his life, to prepare for future eventualities, at the same time, there is a very heavy price which he pays for it, and especially if he takes this ability too seriously. In other words, if he doesn't realize that the true reality for example, the animal probably doesn't concern himself with problems of starvation at that time. If an animal sees another dead animal dying, I don't suppose well, one day that's going to happen to him. Rather, he just sees the dead animal, sniffs it, sees whether it's going to run away. Because that spend most of our time and a great deal of our emotion living time now, living in elsewhere, which is so much so that quite comfortable with the premise of a good time coming of pleasure and happiness. And so we develop a kind of that of time. Want to be because of our sensitivity to food. Want to be sure that our future is acceptable. And for this reason, the future becomes of more importance to most human beings than the present. And in this sense, we are hooked, taken in by a Maya. Because it is of very little use to us to be able to control and plan the immensely unable at the same time of living totally in the present. And so, when in civilized societies we spend so much of our time living for the future, we become very much like celebrated donkey that have a carrot fastened on a stick that's tied to the neck behind there, and you come to the carrot back in the front of it. Pursuing. So in exactly the same. Nothing. My goodness, something different. Just God. And the idea of grade, so on, going up and up, and then you went to high school, and this was a great transition in life, and now the pressure is being put on. You must get ahead, you must go up the grades, and finally be good enough to get to college. And then when you get to college, you are still going step by step, up to the great moment in which you're ready to go out into the world. And then when you get out into this famous world, comes the struggle for success in profession or business. And again, there seems to be a ladder before you, something for which you're reaching all the time. And then, suddenly, when you're about 40 or 45 years old, in the middle of life, you wake up one day and say, huh? I've arrived. And I feel pretty much the same as I've felt. In fact, I'm not so sure that I don't feel a little bit cheated. Because you see, and while, as I say, of to be able to be ahead of the school, which, when you get to it, becomes a present. You won't be there. You'll be some other thing that doesn't get right. And so, in this way, one is never able to actually and enjoy the fruits of the act. You can't unless you can live fully. And now, satisfaction because we're never get happy. It's not technique. Help. Looking. Have you ever stopped to think? What does love be like? Suppose, for example, on going to bed at night, you could always dream of having a dream. What would happen? Of course, I suppose you could dream fantastic, pleasure, wonderful, so then it's time to talk. Right. Not spare something. Now you know, in Indian, one of the basic myths and ideas is of Brahma, infinite power, but it is like therefore, that's right. Read and does it over and out of time. Read sorry. Think not so not last life stop at right of time. Basic section theory of time and and the Kalpas are called days. One day, the Brahma's life, the Kalpa. And so there are the periods which you can call his days or nights, whichever you wish, where he goes into dream and he dreams the world. And then for the following Kalpa, he wakes up and realizes who he is again, and then he dreams again, going on and on and on through years of Kalpas, the 360 days and nights of Brahma, centuries of Kalpas. Just in quite the same way that we do. Obviously, we think of time as day after day after day after day. But sometimes we like to think of time as this sort of line, going up and up and up and up and up and up and getting better and better and better. But that's not the fundamental idea of time for almost any people in the world outside of Western civilization. In every other part of the world, time is thought of as a circle. And they say, after all, but the modern time of cycling, going round and round and round forever, just as the Earth cycles round and around the Sun. This is not I referred to this idea that's common among us, that time is going up and up, things are getting better and better. But in the general illusion, in every cycle of time, things tend on the whole to get worse and worse. They divide the Kalpa into a number of shorter periods. But the Yugas are so arranged that there are 4 of them. The first one occupying this period. Okay. The second one occupies a shorter period, from here to here. The third, still shorter than the second. The fourth, the shortest of all. The names of the are the names of throws in the Indian game of dice. The best throw, the throw. That lasts the longest time. It's time. The next one is better. The slow quite simple. The third is not far. Not so hard. The final that's the shortest period. And of course, according to ideas, it now. But in time, everything goes and time goes faster. Now, why do they feel that time deteriorates in this way? It is because as much as time becomes time, then, as I said a little while ago, and as we pursue the future, present time becomes unsatisfactory. I was talking the other day to the college president. He said, you know, I'm so busy now that I'm going to have to get a helicopter. I said, whatever you do, don't do it. Because if you get it, more will be expected of you. You'll be expected to go to more places faster. And you see, here's the whole problem of getting advantages in life because we can move about rapidly. We forget that speed is only of real advantage to you. It's not present. Then you get ahead of other people. Somebody else catches up with you. Faster. Going faster and faster to less and less desirable objectives. We hurry everything we do. We make our products, our houses, our furniture, our so that we become absolutely perfect. In such a hurry to get everything done. We pay attention rather than act. Example. Here's a piece of Chinese. Those among you who've ever done anything for some behaviors not recognize this is Chinese speech. It's not made up of nine squares of thread, like a grid or lattice of thread. And this smoking on furthermore. None of that. You know, early when you take shortcuts around the back and take threads, jumping spaces and tying knots and things of that kind. But here, no hurry. Or take such an ordinary object as a pocketbook. This again is Chinese embroidery work in shaded silk, very patently done over a padded basin and inside it a little sewing case. Showing concealed within places. But in this day and age, because we are all fast. Say the last bar, hurry up its way, play as fast as possible so as to get to the culmination at the end. To be able to enjoy it. That say that spring does not become the summer. There is spring, there is summer. Firewood does not turn into ashes. There is first firewood, and then state. And this is an idea. Just a fair line. By flash. There's a line behind it from a Chinese poet, and it says, literally, they, that is good day. Every day is a good day. And it comes outside of the sun. Sweet hunting flowers. In summer, refreshing. Free your mind from idle thoughts. And every day is a good day. And idle thoughts. Thoughts pursuing the future. Thoughts of making one's happiness depend on something. But when one can't come to come across sometimes I settle but or not only in painting but in poetry. A poem in the Japanese haiku style. Poem sound more. Painting of a man's that because that's time. Of certain types of stuff. The smell of burning leaves. I remember particularly for me one glimpse of a flock of sun. Celebrating. But such a wonderful. The sea garden. Voices, wild ducks, rushed hate and what? So vividly alive that somehow think the next time you come this is all an art form. Awesome. I don't before he started doing anything, let's sit for a while. And then quite suddenly he would say, "Wake up! You're all fast asleep. Don't wake up. I won't give any lecture." And another Chinese sage pointed one day to some flowers while talking to a friend and said, "Most people look at this as if it..." And Buddha, one of the wisest sons of Asia, is good, but it's Buddha, because Buddha now, in what sense was he awake? He was awake in the sense that he was completely all here. Not when we say about a person as nuts. He's not all. But our whole culture, our whole civilization, insofar as it is involved with time, is nuts. It's not human. We are not awake. We are not completely alive now. Consequently, we are so of it, because